So the story begins with the most popular girls in school, Gina, Hannah, and Minji. Lead Gina, who is very beautiful and is also an idol trainer. She does not follow any trend. Rather, whatever she does becomes a trend. This is Hannah, who is also an idol trainer like Gina. And this is Minji, who belongs to a very rich family and is also very cute. These three are best friends and are also the most popular girls of the school. Meanwhile, we are introduced to our male lead. This guy, Lee. He is sitting there looking at Gina when his best friend Chang comes from behind and hits him saying, "What are you looking at?" And then Chang also looks and says, "You are sitting here and again you started looking at Gina." Lee says, "It's not like that. I was looking in the other direction, and then she came and I saw her too." And then Chang says, "You know that she already has a boyfriend, and still you doing all this," and says, "Anyway, both of you are completely different." Lee says, "What if she has a boyfriend? Still, I like her." Meanwhile, we see Gina with her boyfriend Young. He is a baseball player, and here she is angry with him because he did not remember Gina's birthday yesterday, and he could not celebrate with her. So he says, "If not tomorrow, then let's celebrate it today." But Gina gets very angry because this was not the first time. Young is always busy with his game and does not pay any attention to Gina at all. And then Gina angrily says, "I want to break up with you." Hearing this, he says, "Give me a valid reason, then only the breakup will happen." And then she starts thinking, what is the reason I say to him? And then she says, "I have already got a new boyfriend." But Young says, "Really?" and asks, "Who is he?" And then Gina starts looking here and there, and then she sees Lee's photo there, and she tells him, "He is my new boyfriend." Young says, "Is this really your boyfriend?" And then, "I definitely have to meet him." Gina also says, "Okay, you meet him tomorrow." Soon after, Gina gets very upset and gives the photo of Lee to her friends and asks them to find him. Now, all three of them together start the campaign to find Lee and are checking every person by taking his photo. And then Chang comes to know about this, that Gina wants to meet Lee. He directly goes to Lee and tells him, "You know who is looking for you." Soon after, Lee comes to meet Gina, and there she directly asks him, "Will you be my boyfriend?" And then we are shown the scene of flashback when he first saw Gina in the broadcasting room, and since then he started liking her. Hearing about being her boyfriend, Lee is completely shocked and says, "Can I be your boyfriend?" Gina says, "Yes." And then Lee says, "What about Young?" Gina says, "I broke up with him this morning only." Lee says, "So you like me? That's why you broke up with him." She says, "Why would I like you?" He says, "And then why do you want me to be your boyfriend?" Lee doesn't understand anything, and he refuses her and leaves from there. Soon after, Gina is telling all these things to her friends, and her friends ask her, "What? He refused you? How can this happen?" The next day, Young comes to Gina and asks, "Where is your new boyfriend?" He says, "After school is over, introduce me to him." And then Gina says, "Okay." And Young also leaves from there. Soon after, she comes to Lee's class, takes his hands, picks him up and takes him away from there, and all the people are watching them. And then coming here, she tells him the whole story and gives him a couple contract and says this contract is for 50 days. She says during this, we will have to pretend like a couple. And then he also understands everything, and he says yes to this contract. And then Gina receives a call from Young. So she tells Lee, "You quickly sign this contract and go out." When she comes out, Young asks her, "Where is your new boyfriend?" She says, "He will reach there in 1 minute." Meanwhile, Lee is thinking, this relationship is fake. But when I stay with Gina for a period of time, maybe she might fall in love with me. And this fake relationship should become a real relationship. Thinking all this, he signs the contract. On the other side, Young says, "It has been a minute until now, none of your boyfriends have come." He says, "I know that you do not have any boyfriend and you are lying to me. Now forgive me and become normal like before." Just then, Lee comes from behind and puts his hand on her shoulder and tells Young, "I am her boyfriend." Soon after, both of them leave from there. Later on, Lee is sitting with Gina and her friends, and then Gina says, "I wanted to eat dumplings." He goes and brings a lot of dumplings. And then Gina says, "What was the need for this?" Lee says, "If you do not want it, then should I take it?" And then she says, No, let it be. I will take it." Lee is very happy and also very excited by all this. Soon after, Lee is waiting outside her training center, When she comes out, she asks him, "What are you doing here?" And then he says, "I will drop you home." Gina says, "I don't need that. I will go home alone." And then she starts leaving from there, and just then she sees Young there. On seeing him, Gina quickly runs toward Lee, and then both of them ignore him completely and leave from there. Later on, both of them are getting to know each other so that Young does not have any doubt. And then at the training center, Hannah asks Gina, "Why are you roaming with that boy? Even you deserve better." And then Gina says, "Yes, but Young knows his face and name because that day I told him that he is my boyfriend." Soon after, Lee is going to drop Gina to her house on the way when she is about to hit the car. Just then he comes and saves her. Soon after he drops her home and starts to leave. And then she stops him and asks him to save his number in her mobile. And then he saves his number and blushingly leaves from there. Seeing this, Gina also starts laughing. And then we come to know that someone else is keeping an eye on Gina. Later on, she is with her friends and taking a selfie with them. And then she says, "I should call Lee also. If he will stay with me, then Young will believe in me." Saying this, she messages Lee and calls him there. Soon after, Lee also reaches there with his friend Chang. Here, Chang is also very happy to see such beautiful girls sitting with him. Gina says, "Why have you brought him here?" And then Lee says, "When you messaged me, he was with me, and we did not get time to think, so we came here quickly." Soon after, Chang amazes everyone with his antics. Here, Minji is enjoying a lot seeing all this, while Hannah is getting irritated and leaves from there to go to the training center. And then suddenly, a bright light comes on Gina's face. So Lee covers her face with his hand. Soon after, Chang says, "Let us take them to our favorite place." And then these people come to a gaming place where they find the food very tasty, play games together and enjoy a lot. And then when they are leaving the place, then a man starts looking at Gina, but then he leaves from there. And then Gina takes a selfie with Lee and says, "I will send this to you and you put it on your status." After this, she tells him, "Yesterday you went to drop me, and today I will drop you at your home." And then she drops him at his home, and Lee says, "Now I will drop you home." But Gina says, "It is not necessary. I will go myself." And then he takes off all his clothes and makes Gina wear it, saying, "With this you will not feel cold. Now you go," he says, and saying this he himself goes from there. Gina also likes all this very much. Next day, Young sees the photo of Lee and Gina, and he does not like it at all. On the other side, Gina is sitting with Lee's jacket, and then her friends ask about the jacket. And then she says in a different style, "Since yesterday Lee had given me the jacket because he was afraid that I might catch cold." After saying this, she leaves from there. Her friends are also very surprised. On the other side, Young comes to Lee and asks him, "Are you really Gina's boyfriend?" And then Lee says, "Yes, there is no doubt that I am her boyfriend." Just then, Gina comes there and tells Young, "If you try to trouble Lee, then I will not leave you." Hearing this, he feels very angry. And then he says, "I don't think that you both are in a relationship," on which Gina kisses Lee. Seeing this, Young is completely shocked. And then Gina says, "Haven't you been convinced yet?" And then he gets very angry and leaves from there. And then Lee says to her, "The kiss you just did was real, right?" Gina says, "No, you should not take it seriously. I did that to convince Young." Hearing this, Lee gets very angry and leaves from there. And then her friends also come there. Gina says, "I don't know why he got angry because of this." Later on, sports day is going on at school where everyone's physical appearance is being checked there. Young gives his stuff to Gina, but Gina does not keep his stuff. Meanwhile, Chang is distributing templates of his club here, and Lee comes there and picks him up and takes him away from there. And then Chang asks Minji, "Will you join my club?" On which Minji also says, "Yes." Just then, Gina tells Chang, "Bring your friend so we all will have lunch together." But Lee doesn't come there, so Gina also gets a little upset. Meanwhile, Lee is leaving from there, and then he sees Hannah leaving from there. Soon after, we see both of them sitting there and talking. Lee says, "Should I bring water for you?" But Hannah says, "Since 3 days, I am trying to maintain my diet and still I have not lost weight." And then Lee says, "Okay, is this so important for you?" She says, "I know that you will say that inner beauty is more important than outer." But Lee says, "I did not say this." While on the other hand, Gina is asking Chang, "Why is Lee angry with me?" And then Chang tells her, You told him that you gave a fake kiss, and that was his first kiss, and you kissed him to show it to someone which he did not like. He says, Lee is a very simple boy and he does not like these things. While talking, Chang also tells her that Lee has been liking her for a long time. Meanwhile, Lee offers a drink to Hannah and says, you should drink this. You have become very weak, and it can also cause problems to your health. All these things are going on. Just then, Minji comes there to call Hannah. While leaving from there, she also takes a drink. From this, we come to know that Hannah has started liking Lee. In the next scene, Gina tells Lee, I came to know that you have liked me since before. He says, yes, I am liking you since when I had saw you in the broadcasting room. And then Gina says, okay, and then apologizes for her mistake, and says, I will not do this from now onwards. But Lee says, if you do all this in the future, then please do a real kiss. Hearing this, she does not say anything. Soon after, when she comes to get her blood pressure checked, and as she sees Lee there, her heart starts beating faster. Seeing this, everyone standing there becomes completely shocked, and here is also watching this. Later on at the training center, the manager says to Hannah, I have not seen any progress in you yet. Meanwhile, she praises Gina a lot and tells Hannah to learn something from her. Hearing all this, Hannah feels very sad. Next day, Lee brings a gift for Gina, and then she asks him, why did you bring this? He says, it has been a week since we are dating, and this is our first anniversary. Gina gets very happy and says you have brought it with so much love, so I accept it, but today's dinner is from my side. So Lee also says okay. After this, she tells her friends that it is a gift from Lee which everyone likes very much. All these things will also be seen by Young, who is sitting there and watching them. And then he remembers the incident of 2020, when Gina was waiting for him outside. When he comes outside, he says you are waiting for so much time. I told you that it will take me some time. And then she gives him a gift. And then he asks her what is this for? And then she says it has been 100 days since we are dating, and this is our first anniversary. And then he says today, I have to go for dinner with my teen, so I cannot go with you. And then she says it's okay, and gets upset and leaves from there. At present all these things must be there, or he is sitting and remembering. Soon after, when she is keeping her stuff in her locker, then she gets some of her photos with which there is also a letter on which it is written, we will be together soon. Seeing all this, Gina starts thinking who is doing all this. And then we see that Young is also sitting there and listening to all these things. Later on, all of them join the club of Chang and are enjoying a lot. And then as soon as Chang starts hitting Lee, Gina stops him and says, what are you doing? Seeing this, Chang gets very scared. And then Hannah starts saying, I have heard that there is going to be an autograph session of someone named Namong Jianga. And then Gina says, who is he? And then Lee says, is it really true? And both get very excited and start talking about this. And Gina is quietly sitting and watching them both. Soon after, Lee and Chang leave from there for some work. And then Gina says to Hannah, do you really like that singer so much? And then Hannah says, yes, he is my secret favorite singer. And then we come to know the backstory, that Hannah came to know about the singer from Lee's post in the club. And then Hannah asks Gina, did you really like Lee? But Gina says, no, it's not like that. She says, there is a contract relationship between us. And then Hannah says, it's really like this, right? In the next scene, we see that Young comes to Hannah and asks for his help. Meanwhile, Gina tells Lee, today, I will not be able to give you a tweet. Next time, I definitely will because today I have some work left. And then Lee says okay, and she leaves from there. And then Lee is also leaving from there. Just then, he sees Hannah outside. She says today, there is an autograph session of Nam Kong John. She asks, will you come with me? Because I am going alone. Hearing this, he gets very excited and says yes, I will also come. In the next scene, Gina goes to meet Hannah at a place. When she reaches there, she sees that it is Young. And then he says, I have called you here to meet me. And then she sees some gifts there and says, what is this? And then Young tells her, till date, I have not given you gifts on your birthday and anniversary, and today I am going to give the same. He says this is the gift of our first, second, third anniversary, and this is the birthday gift. And then Gina also sees a lock there. And then Young says nowadays, a lot of bad things are happening in your locker, and anyone can open it. So you lock it properly with the help of this lock. Then she says, I do not need all these gifts. I have a boyfriend who can give me all this. And then Gina says, now I am going from there. Just then, Lee and Hannah also come there. Here Gina does not like seeing them together, and Lee does not like it at all that Gina is with Young, and he leaves from there. Gina also goes after him and starts saying, what were you doing with Hannah? Lee also says, what are you doing with Young? You had said that you have some important work, he adds. And then Gina says, yes, I came here because Hannah called me here, but I did not know that Young is here. And then she says, you went with Hannah without telling me. Saying this, she angrily leaves from there. On the way, she collides with a boy and says sorry to him, and she leaves from there. But this boy is smiling after seeing her. Meanwhile, when Young comes out and asks Lee, where is Gina? And then he says, she left in anger. Young says, how can you let her go alone at this time? And then he starts trying to call Gina, but she doesn't pick up. On the other side, the same boy is following Gina. And Gina looks at his face and says, you're a player of the baseball team, right? Why are you following me? And then this boy says, I told you that we will meet very soon. Hearing this, she starts to run from there, and that boy also runs after her. On the other side, Young starts saying, why did you let her go alone? Don't you know that a lot of things are happening with her these days? Hearing this, Lee is shocked, and then Young shouts, you are her boyfriend. Don't you know anything? Just then, Gina calls Young, and before she could tell him anything, the call gets cut. And then Young says, you are going towards her house, and I am going towards the training center. They both leave to find her. On the other side, the same boy tells Gina, I have liked you for a long time, and that day when you broke up with Young, I decided that I will keep you mine. But I don't know from where that Lee came suddenly as your boyfriend. He adds, and that day when you kissed him in front of me, which made me very angry. Now, I will keep you as my girlfriend. As he is saying these things, Lee reaches there, and as soon as the boy goes to lead, Gina attacks him from behind, but he still runs away from there. On the way, the same boy collides with Young. Young says, what are you doing here at this time? And then he sees that there are many things of Gina in his bag. Seeing this, he understands that this is the same boy who had been keeping an eye on Gino. And then Young beats him and makes him fall. Soon after, they get him arrested by the police. She says thank you to Young. And then Young says to Lee, you are her boyfriend, so take care of her. Saying this, he leaves. And then Lee stands there very sad. And then Gina says, why are you making such a face? And then Lee says, I could not protect you. Gina says, because of you I am standing here safe, otherwise I don't know what would have happened to me. And then he says, after today, I will go to drop you to your house every day. Hearing this, Gina starts laughing and says, okay, fine, now let's go. And then he drops her home. There Gina tells him today, my parents are not at home, so I am alone. He says, if you are alone, you will not be scared. And then she says, okay, you stay with me tonight, on which he also agrees and goes to her house. Here both of them are sitting and eating. And then Lee is staring at Gina. And then Gina says, I know that I am beautiful, but you should not look at me like this. And then he says, yes, you are beautiful, but right now I am looking at something else. Saying this, he cleans her face. And then Gina starts complaining, why did you remove it from there? I had intentionally put it there so that I could eat it tomorrow. Hearing this, he starts laughing. After some time, both of them fall asleep sitting with each other. Next day, Gina's friends are asking her about yesterday's incident. And then Gina says, you should not need to get tensed because he has been arrested now. Soon after, Young comes there and she goes to him and thanks him for yesterday. Young says, there is no need to thank me, but you can give me a gift in return. Gina says, what kind of gift should I give you to become my boyfriend again? Young says, no, I want to become your friend. Soon after, all these people are sitting together there. Minji tells them, we all should go on vacation to refresh our mood. Everyone agrees to this. And then Young comes there and says, I will also go on vacation with you people. Hearing this, Lee starts looking at him. Later on, they reach Minji's old house, and as soon as they arrive, they start playing games and enjoying themselves. And then Gina comes to Lee and says, from where did you get this camera? And then he says, it was lying in the broadcasting room, so I brought it so that I can record some of our memories. And then Young also comes there and says, you can shoot me also, but Lee ignores him and goes from there. Soon after, Lee is cooking food in the kitchen. And then Hannah comes and starts helping him. But then Gina also comes there. Soon after, they start eating, and Hannah asks Lee to serve food to her also. But then Young says, "Why would someone else's boyfriend serve you food?" And then he serves her food. Soon after, all these people start the game again, where one person will ask some question in the ear of the other person, and the other person has to answer by pointing out to whom the question is related. If anyone sitting there wants to know the question, then first of all, he has to get beaten by all of them, and then he will know the question. After this, these people start the game, and first of all, Minji asks Chang, "If you want to go on a date, then with whom you would like to go?" And then Chang points out to Minji. Both of them become very happy. Next, Chang asks something to Gina, and then she points out to Young. Lee says, "I want to know this question," and then everyone beats him. Soon after, Chang tells him, "I had asked, who is it that eats food in the kitchen at night?" Chang starts laughing. Soon after, Gina is pointing out to Young again and again, and Lee is also trying to know every question and gets beaten by all of them a lot. And then Young asks a question to Hannah, and Hannah points out Lee. And then Gina says, "I want to know the question." And then all the people beat her. And then Young tells her, "I asked Hannah whom she is most interested in." Hearing this, she does not like it at all. After that, she is thinking about the same thing while sitting there. And then she heard the sound of something. So she starts looking outside, but just then, someone comes there, and she gets scared, but he is Lee. Soon after, they both go out and sit at a place where Gina starts singing, and Lee is recording it, and says, "Both your voice and you are very beautiful." Soon after, both of them start kissing, but suddenly they get embarrassed and stop. Here Hannah is standing and watching everything. And then she comes home in anger. And then Young says, "What happened to you suddenly?" In anger, Hannah tells him both of them are in a contract relationship, but don't know why everything is becoming real. Hearing this, he is completely shocked and at the same time very happy too. In the next scene, all the people are leaving from there. And then Minji says, "What will these things do here? Everyone should take things of their choice." But Gina is taking all the things. And then Hannah says, "You want everything, and this is the thing I don't like." Hearing this, Gina says, "What are you saying?" "I was joking. Whatever you want, take from there," she adds. But Hannah leaves from there angrily. At outside, Young tells Hannah, "I have come to know that you like Lee, but you have to wait for the right time like I am doing." Soon after, Gina comes to the training center and is trying to talk to Hannah, but Hannah does not reply to her. And then the manager comes there and starts telling everyone, "You people have to invest some money because our agency is going through a difficult time." And then Gina says there was nothing in the contract that we have to deposit money. And then the manager says, "Yes, you are right, but the money will be deposited only by the person whose progress is very low like Hannah." And then the manager asks Hannah to deposit 10 million rupees. And then Gina says, "Why should she give all the money? You should look at everyone with the same eyes." On which the manager says, "We are complimenting you too much then. You have started talking too much." And then Gina says, "There is no need for us to stay here." She holds Hannah's hand, but Hannah does not support her and says, "If you want to go, then go, but I want to stay here." On hearing this, Gina leaves the agency alone. Soon after, she remembers Hannah and her own memories and starts thinking, "I don't know how you changed so much suddenly." Soon after, she comes to Lee and tells him all these things and says, "Is it my fault in this?" But Lee says, "No, it is not your fault. You did the right thing, and anyway, you do not need to work in that agency." And then he shows her the video and says, "If I upload it on social media, then you will be very famous." And then Gina says, "Do it really go viral?" Lee says yes, and both start smiling. In the next scene, Gina comes to meet her brother-in-law and sister, and then she also tells them about her contract relationship. She says, "Now I have started liking that boy very much, and I will confess my feelings to him soon." Knowing this, her sister becomes very happy. Meanwhile, the manager tells Hannah, "You take back all your money, but bring Gina back here because she was the face of our team, and without her, we are nothing." The manager adds, "She is gone because of you, so you should take her there again." But Hannah says, "I have deleted her number, and now both of us are not friends." Meanwhile, both of them are sitting together, and then Lee is surprised to see something. The video has gone viral and you have become very popular. And then she says, "This credit goes to you." And then the pen falls from Lee's hand, and he bends down to pick it up. And then Gina also bends down, and while picking up the pen, she catches Lee's hand. Seeing this, he gets very shy and starts getting nervous. Seeing this, Gina says, "It is okay, you write with the right hand." She tries to free her hand, but he says, "No, I am fine like this." Seeing Lee's reaction, Gina starts laughing. On the other side, a romantic comedy is going on between these two. And then Chang says today was the match of Young. And then both of them start watching his interview, in which he says the girl whom I like should support me. And then Chang asks Minji for a charger, but she refuses. And then he starts searching for the charger to charge his phone in Lee's bag. And then he finds the contract of both of them instead of the charger. Both of them are laughing at this. Hannah also sees all this. Later on, Lee goes to Young and asks, "Why did you say all this in the interview?" And then Young says, "It means you took the interview. And the game is not over yet," he adds. And saying this, he leaves from there. And then Hannah also sees that on social media, Gina's video has gone viral. And seeing this, she does not like it. And then Young comes there and asks Hannah about Gina. And then Hannah says, "Everyone is asking about her. I do not know where she is." Soon after, Hannah comes to Lee and expresses her feelings. "I like you. But if you don't want, then we can come into a contract relationship. After this, you will start liking him gradually," she says. But Lee says, "I only like Gina, not anyone else." Hearing this, Hannah angrily says, "What is there in her that everyone wants to like her?" And then Gina also appears there and says, "What are you both talking about?" Hannah says, "You can't see that we both are talking, so please go from here." But Gina holds Lee's hand and while leaving says, "He is my boyfriend." And then she takes him from there. Seeing this, Hannah gets very angry. Later on, everyone in the school had come to know that there is a contract relationship between Lee and Gina. Knowing this, Lee is running towards Gina, but Hannah stops him on the way and says, "After all this, Gina is very angry with you and does not want to meet with you." Soon after, Lee is sitting there and watching Gina from a distance. Meanwhile, Gina is waiting for Lee because she needed support. He is also getting very bad comments, while on the other side, the match of Young is going on. But as he comes to know in the news that everyone is criticizing Gina, he runs towards Gina. While on the other side, Gina comes to know that someone had kept her contract photo in this room, and her full doubt goes towards Hannah. So she goes to her and says, "You have done all this right." Hannah also accepts this and says, "Yes, because I want to snatch everything from you." And then Gina says, "What are you saying? We are best friends." But Hannah laughs and says, "I have been hating you since the beginning. Since you came to the training center, everyone's focus on you." She adds, "Whatever I need, you snatch it out from me. And now I want to snatch everything out of you." After hearing this, she says, "What are you saying?" And then everyone hears the voice of Lee who is saying in the mic, "Yes, there was a contract relationship between Gina and me. And now I also do not want to stay in this contract relationship because I have been considering it really from the beginning. And now I have to convert it into a real relationship." And then he confesses his feelings, which makes all the students very happy. He also says, "You guys should support my love." And then she tells Hannah, "No matter how much someone hates me, but one person who loves me is enough for me." She leaves from there. And then the teacher comes to the broadcasting room and takes him out to punish him. Soon after, she sees that Lee had put another note on the notice on which it is written, "It is true that there was a contract relationship, but for me it was always real." Seeing all this, Gina also says everything was real for her too. Now in a few days, everything became normal, and everyone forgot everything and they are enjoying. Meanwhile, Young's leader asks him, "Did you get the thing for which you had left that day?" And then Young remembers the day when he came running to Gina, but he sees that she is looking at Lee's note. And then he starts thinking, "Maybe I am late again." Now, there is no one else in her heart except Lee. Thinking all this, he leaves from there without saying anything. Later on, Gina has come to meet Hannah and says, "Why are you not coming to school for so long?" She says, "I am angry with you, but still we can forget everything and start afresh." On which Hannah says, "Okay, I am ready to forget everything, and we will remain friends like before, and I will also go back to school. But I have a condition." So Gina asks, what kind of condition? Hannah says, after this contract relationship, you will not date Lee, because I like him. Hearing this, Gina says nothing and leaves from there. Meanwhile, Lee is thinking that after this contract relationship is over, how will he propose to Gina? Thinking this, he is going crazy. Meanwhile, Gina is remembering the words of Hannah. And then she gets a good night message from Lee, and she gets very upset. Later day, we come to know that today is the last day of the contract between these two. So Gina says, today, we will do everything that we have not done. Soon after, both of them do many things one by one and enjoy a lot. Meanwhile, romance between these two is also going on. Just then, Hannah comes there and asks about Gina and Lee. And then, these people say we don't know where they are. And then she comes to Young and says, you gave up so soon, don't you want to live with Gina now? He says, now, there is only Lee in her heart. There is nothing for me in her heart, now you also forget Lee. Saying this, he leaves from there. Meanwhile, both of them come to a place, and Lee is waiting because after that, their contract will end and he will propose to Gina. After, he confesses his feelings to her. But Gina says, thanks for staying with me for so many days. Hearing this, he finds it very strange and says, what are you saying? But Gina gets up and starts to leave. But Lee stops her and says, what happened to you suddenly? We both like each other. But she doesn't say anything to him and left from there. Lee also gets very upset here. Soon after, both of them stay alone and don't talk to each other. Soon after, Young says to Gina, how did all this happen suddenly between you two? And then she says, we have broken up. And she starts crying. And then Young says, you didn't cry this much even after our breakup, but I know that now you have nothing for me in your heart. He adds, but we can always stay as friends. If you like Lee so much, then don't take your love away for someone else. On the other hand, Lee tells all this to his father. And then, his father says she must have some problem with it. So she said something like this, but you try again once. Hearing all this, Lee decides that he will propose to Gina once again. Meanwhile, Gina comes to meet Hannah and says, I was crazy to listen to you. You have changed the definition of friendship, and I cannot leave my true love for a friend. Soon after, both of them run towards each other and come face to face. Soon after, they confess their feelings to each other, hug, and then leave from there holding each other's hand. Later on, Hannah is also leaving the school, which makes Minji feel very sad because one of her best friends is leaving her. Later scene, Lee calls Gina at Tars and gives her a new contract and asks her, will you be my girlfriend and stay with me for a lifetime? And then she says, okay. And then he says, you sign it. Gina kisses on the contract and says, this is how the contract is signed. You will also sign it. But he says, I sign, but somewhere else. He kisses her, and then he says, from now on, I am your boyfriend. She says, I am also your girlfriend. She kisses him, and with this, our sweet drama ends here. How would you like this drama? And which was your favorite character? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for watching more dramas like this. This is Jennifer, and thank you so much for watching with me till the very end.